Once people find out I have this YouTube channel, I get asked constantly to help them troubleshoot their productivity systems, recommend products, or give them the perfect app that's going to make them achieve all of their goals. So today, I wanted to give you guys an example of what it looks like when I assess someone's productivity system and what kind of tips and tricks I give them to make it stronger and work better for their life. And I will be using my boyfriend as a guinea pig. In this video, you'll get a sense of what kind of questions I ask, how I troubleshoot other people's productivity systems, and some tips on how to troubleshoot your own. Plus, we're going to talk about the main things you need in a productivity system, which is pretty important. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so to start, I did have a conversation with my partner about what he needs, what's not working for him, and what he would like to see improved. He sent me a couple of screenshots so that I can use them to demonstrate for this video, but basically he is using Apple Calendar, he is using the Reminders app on iOS, and then he is using a Notes app. I don't have screenshots of the Notes app, but we'll talk a little bit about how he told me he uses it once we get to that point. So for those of you who don't know, a productivity system basically needs to have a few different sort of core elements in order to function. A huge core element is a calendar. If you don't have a calendar or a scheduler, what are you doing? There's so many times people ask me for help and advice on productivity and scheduling, and they just don't have a calendar, which is the main scheduling tool. So he is using Apple Calendar for that. So let's take a look at that. So this is a screenshot of his Apple Calendar. Can I zoom in on this? I can. Okay. So you can see over here on the sidebar, he has calendars called Self, Others, Couple, and Work. I'm not counting these other calendars or birthdays and holidays because I know he doesn't really use those, but those 4 calendars are like his main calendars. And he has told me about his calendar that he just doesn't feel like he can rely on it, and he doesn't feel like he knows to go in and schedule things. He had an experience recently where he kept double booking himself for weekend activities. Like we had to go to a birthday, but he had booked something else, and like it was just a nightmare trying to figure that out and who to say yes to and no to after the fact, after you'd already like promised your presence. So that's like a scheduling nightmare, right? That's something that disrupts our lives in a major way that we really want to get figured out. So for the purposes of the calendar, he was like, I don't trust it. I can't go in there and reliably know that it's what I have going on because he keeps forgetting to update it. And already I can see here on the calendar app, as I'm looking at it in full, that a lot of it is just not organized into the categories that he has already set for himself. So he's given himself these sort of domain areas, right? We talked about them already. Self, Others, Couple, and Work. So self calendar is stuff that he's just accountable to himself for. Others are appointments with others, whether that's doctor's offices or meetings or whatever. And then I believe Couple is just stuff that he and I are doing together, so he has that in a unique calendar. And then Work is everything he does both for this YouTube channel, because he does produce this YouTube channel, and also for his freelancing business. So I can see right away that stuff on this is not scheduled appropriately. For example, everything is green. Everything is being thrown into the self calendar, except for this looks like it's in the Couple calendar, even though it's related to his work, and everything else is in the self calendar. So the first thing I would recommend is obviously going in here and cleaning it up, especially the recurring events that are not in the appropriate calendar. So the days that I am in the office, I have marked on his calendar, for example, says are in office. That means Rachel's in the office. For my 9 to 5, I do about half of the week in the office, half of the week at home. And those are in green. Those are in his self calendar, when he really should put them in like the Couple calendar because it's related to me. But things, recurring events like Survivor Night, we do Survivor Night every single Wednesday, and we do it with a bunch of friends, which is really, really fun. But you can see it's green, which means it's in that self calendar. So these things can be just with a one-off 5-minute session sorted into the appropriate calendar, and it will make such a huge difference to his experience of his calendar, because he will then be able to come in here and see for a fact, okay, Survivor Night, I'm accountable to Others for that. I gotta get that, sorted in whatever way that communicates to his brain that he has to get that sorted. So it's stuff like that that is just a really easy fix that will hugely help him feel like this is a reliable place for his information. Now I want to address the big problem that he mentioned, which is that he just doesn't remember to update this. I think that is hugely important, and I'm actually gonna make some recommendations for that at the end of the video. We're gonna look at a couple of his other tools first, and then we're gonna talk about how he can make sure everything is updated together. When I'm not redesigning productivity systems, one thing I am working on is creative thinking. Productivity helps us get things done. done, but if you need some help deciding what to get done, you probably need to spend a little time brainstorming. That's what I've been doing with Esteban Gast's course, The Creative Toolkit. Esteban is a writer and creator who will walk you through the process of opening your mind and generating unique ideas. I need to come up with new ideas all the time for my job, my creative projects, and of course this YouTube channel. And sometimes I get way too serious about that process and make it way too hard on myself. But this course is a great reminder of ways to make that more engaging and fun. I found this course on Skillshare, who are kindly sponsoring today's video. Regular viewers of this channel will know that I absolutely love Skillshare. They have so many courses on photography, illustration, creativity, everything under the sun you could need or want to start a creative hobby or goal. No project is too small. If you're interested in learning something, Skillshare has you covered. And once I'm done with Esteban's course, Skillshare has an entire learning path focused on creative productivity. Learning paths bundle together classes on a particular skill or topic. It's a perfect path from beginner to expert, with a wide variety of teachers to learn from. So to check out this course or the thousands of others that are available on Skillshare, head to the link in my description box below. The first 500 people to click that link and sign up will get a free 1-month trial of Skillshare. Thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring, and let's get back to the video. So let's look at his task manager, which he uses Apple Reminders. This is the screenshot he sent me of what he has in the app. Okay, so I've just zoomed in to, so that we can see everything that he has, which is not much. It is not much. And you can see that he has something from September of 2023, which is Schedule Vet. He also has something from a few days ago, which was like take my car into Honda. And then he has one that's not dated, which is buy cat food. Now, I know for a fact that he's not actually in here opening the app and looking at the items he has on his task list here. The way he uses the Reminders app is through its built-in functionality with Siri on the iPhone. So he will take his phone, if he thinks of a task, he will take his phone and he will say, "Hey Siri, remind me tomorrow to buy cat food." And then Siri will remind him tomorrow to buy cat food. Many times I hear him say, "Remind me tomorrow at noon to buy cat food." That might be related to like a noon block of work that he gets done every single day. I'm not totally sure. But either way, he's using that functionality to say, build a reminder and send me a notification. So he has told me that he's not really in here opening this app on a day-to-day basis. He took this screenshot for me because he wanted me to see what it looks like and sort of see his functionality, but he's not in here like on a day-to-day basis. So what he actually does to keep track of his task list when he is making a task list for a day is that he just opens up a blank note in his Notes app. So I have on my screen here my Apple Notes app. He uses a different third-party Notes app that I'm not exactly sure what he uses, but he uses it basically the same way many people would use like just a standard Notes app, where he just creates a new note as needed. Maybe it says today's list, and then he writes, you know, buy cat food, edit video, clean kitchen, you know, whatever your task list of the day is. And then he writes that, and then he's just in this note until it's done. And then after it's done, he either deletes it or he just like leaves it in the backlog of his notes. You can see this is my Notes app here. So you can see I have a ton of folders on the sidebar, but what he has told me is that he has no folders on the sidebar. He just has the Notes folder, and it's all in one big mess. So this is where he's keeping his task list in the middle of every single other thing that he is like thinking about or going through. And this is sort of like how he's managing his tasks. To me, this is not very efficient because first of all, it can get lost really easily. This is a task list of critical tasks that he needs to get done, and he's just tossing it into the ether with his other notes. I would say if you want to get really good at task management, and a task manager is the second item that is really crucial to have in a productivity system. You need a calendar, you need a task manager. If you're relying on just writing everything in a note, you probably don't have a really good organizational system and are just thinking of things on the fly and brain dumping them somewhere. I think this can work if you don't have a lot going on, but I know for a fact that he does have a lot going on. I mean, he works on this channel and then many other things at the same time, plus helps me run the household. He basically runs the household, to be honest. I don't do anything. But so he has a lot going on, and he needs to be, you know, present for that and have something more systematized. So what I'm going to recommend to him is that he stop using the Notes app as his primary location for task lists. This is going to be pretty hard because I know it feels very easy to just open up your phone and jot down a task, but I'm going to recommend he stop using the Notes app for task lists. keeps using it for notes and little ideas and everything like that, and instead really relies on the built-in reminders app on his Apple devices. And that's because, let me open my reminders app to just show you how intricate it can be. So this is my reminders app. I don't really use reminders, but it has so many functional elements that really can make it a very useful task manager. You don't need to buy a very fancy task manager. You can just use the built-in task managers that exist to get started, and he's already in this anyway. So one tip that I have when you're assessing your productivity systems is to gravitate towards what you are already using anyways. Because I know he's already using reminders, I'm gonna say, okay, we're gonna build you a system in reminders. So it's not like you have to learn a whole new program or learn a whole new system. You're just using exactly what you already are familiar with and what already works for you. So the way I would recommend that he use this is that he continues to capture tasks by speaking into his phone. And then when he feels like he needs to, he can come in here and he can see the tasks that he has scheduled. So I'm gonna replicate the tasks he has right now. We're just going to add buy cat food today and take my car into Honda tomorrow at noon. You can see the natural language processing is giving me tomorrow at noon as an option, so I'm gonna do that, and when I click away, it'll move to scheduled. So obviously he will have a bunch of other tasks in here if he's using this correctly, but let's just say right now he's got these 2 items on his to-do list and he comes in here and he wants to see them. This is where you take advantage of these sidebar icons, right? So the today view, he can see everything that's scheduled for today, or he can go over to scheduled and he can see like everything that's coming up for the week or for the next few days. So he can see what's on the agenda for today and he can see what's on the agenda for tomorrow. I think this is such basic and useful functionality to be like, okay, today I need to do this, tomorrow I need to do this. Really, that's all you need to get started with a task manager. You don't need to build a bunch of complicated folders. You don't need to build like a whole project management system. If you just want to get started from point A to point B, thinking of a task, writing it down, putting it in a place, you want to use something that has features like this where you can have something for today, have something for tomorrow, or have something for this week or next month or whatever to organize your tasks. It can be done super easily in a paper planner. It can be done super easily in an app like Reminders, or any other functioning to-do list app will be able to do these sort of features for you. Once he wants to get more complicated with it, I will recommend that he comes over and creates more lists. So you can see my lists. I have Reminders, which just shows everything, all these things that are in the Reminders category. But then I also have a home list, and you can move tasks between these things and get it a little bit more organized. So I would recommend buy cat food is kind of a home task, right? So he can move buy cat food into home, and then it's out of the general like default reminders list and it's in your home list. So that way he can also come in here and he can also say, okay, I'm spending time at home today. What can I get done today that really needs to get done? He can come in here and buy cat food today is on the list, so he can just do that online. Spoiler alert, we get a lot of our cat food online. So it's technically a home task, not an errand. Or he could have, you know, an errands list. So it would say errands, and then I hope I spelled that right. I don't know, I have an English degree, it's fine. And then he would put take my car into Honda, that would be an errand. So I'm in the home, I'm out of the home, what can I do in those 2 spheres? And you can get as complicated as you want with lists or keep them as simple as you want. One thing I like about the Reminders app is that it can be really, really, really simple. And that's great because right now what he is struggling with is just having a consistent place where he puts his to-dos where it doesn't get lost. So recommending one program to him and a very simple use case of that one program, sort of gonna be my starting recommendation to how he can really make sure that he's not losing anything. And so the last thing I wanna mention is this thing with the Notes app. A Notes app is a really critical function of a productivity management system writ large, but I believe a Notes app should not be for project management or task management. It should be for holding notes that you are then going to search for later. If he's holding a to-do list in here, that's not really useful because he needs to be in that and working with that all the time. But if he's holding a note, like instead of these being tasks, maybe it's like our cat food brand is Fancy Feast. Right? Then when he opens up his Reminders app and it says buy cat food today, or he's in the today view, it says buy cat food today, he can say, oh, I gotta buy cat food. What cat food do we buy? And then he can come into his Notes app and search for, like, say, cat food. And then he can see that this note pops up and it says our cat food brand is Fancy Feast. Boom. And he's like, okay, cool. I get that. I'm gonna buy cat food. So your Notes app really works very well as a reference point, not as a task task manager. And when you're using it as a reference point, I don't always think it needs to be organized. I like to organize my notes sort of by category because I feel a little bit overwhelmed by just a long list of things that say cat food. But if you don't, you really want to make sure that your search function, so this part up here where I searched cat food, you want to make sure that your search function on the app of your choice is really good. And I know that the search function on his app that he uses is pretty good, and we'll pull up those keywords exactly as I searched them just now in Apple Notes. So when you are using your Notes app, make sure that it's something with a really good search feature. Make sure that it's something that has the sorting capabilities that you want, and make sure that you can find everything really easily and you're not using it for task management. You're just using it for reference. I know some people do like to use their Notes app for project planning and things like that. I think that's fine if your project plan is a reference document, but if it's full of the task lists you need to complete, I think you should align it a little bit with your task manager. And I can make a video on that if you guys want. That's what I do right now. I plan all my projects in Notes and then I put them into practice in my task manager. So that's possible. But for my boyfriend, I know what he's doing is he's just coming in here and he's just searching for reference and then he's moving on. So that's really all you need in a Notes app. So I want to talk about another critical element of a productivity system really quickly, which is a capture method. A capture method is basically whatever system or path you already use to write down your tasks and make notes of your tasks or your thoughts or whatever. And a capture method can be anything. It can be speaking into your phone and saying, "Hey Siri, remind me at this date." It can be writing something in a Notes app. It can be writing something on a sticky note. It can be anything. Anything that makes its way somehow into your productivity system is a capture method. Usually capture methods are very quick. They're very easy. They're very seamless, just something you can do very quickly. Logging an in-depth project plan into Asana or something is not a capture method. Saying to your phone, "Hey Siri, remind me out tomorrow," is a capture method, right? It's usually the very fast and very quick things. It's not something you have to process and spend a lot of time on. This idea of capture method comes from David Allen's Getting Things Done, and what he says about it is you want to have as many as are needed, but as few as you can get by with. I know that Tim, my partner, has two main ones, and I've already talked about them in this video. The first one is speaking into his phone and saying, "Hey Siri, remind me of this." And so this is a screenshot of what his app looks like on his phone. So you can kind of see what it looks like. But basically, I think that's a great capture method. And it's one of the reasons we're recommending that he use the Apple Reminders app anyways, because that functionality is already tied in with Apple Reminders. So it makes it really easy. That capture method goes right into his existing productivity system. And then the other capture method that he uses is he writes things down in his Notes app, right? So he might write down our cat food brand is Fancy Feast, but he also might write down meeting with James on Friday or something like that, right? Lunch with Rachel tomorrow, right? He might capture those things because he's like, "Oh, I gotta remember to sort that and schedule that later. I'm just gonna write it in my Notes app for now because it's the quickest and easiest thing I can use." Capture methods are necessary and an essential part of a productivity system. And so you wanna be mindful of your capture methods and make sure you're always gravitating towards the same few so that you know what places to go to check for captured tasks when you are sitting down to plan your day. And so the last thing I want to recommend to Tim when I talk to him about this productivity system is I want to say you need to have a weekly meeting with yourself, or maybe it's a daily meeting, however is frequent enough for you, whatever makes sense for you. You need to have a regular scheduled routine where you go in and you clean out your capture methods. Because if you don't, your capture methods get so cluttered so fast, and then you are in mental and emotional chaos because you can't find anything. So I highly recommend maybe the most essential thing to getting a productivity system down is having a routine with it. So he needs a regular routine where he is opening his Notes app and his task management app, and he's coming in and he's just sorting things around. So maybe he has captured in here, he's said, "Hey Siri, remind me to cook dinner at 6 p.m. tonight." It says 9 p.m. for some reason. I don't know when. I'll just say today. There we go. Today's 6 p.m. And that's just on his reminders list. That's just something he said into his phone earlier today. So when he comes into his productivity system app, he is going to do a number of things. He's going to see his tasks and he's going to say, "Okay, today I already bought cat food. I can do that. I have cooked dinner reminder. I definitely need to do that today, but also that belongs in my home list. So I'm going to sort that so that it belongs somewhere." And then he's going to look at all of the various notes that he has gathered over the course of of the week or however long it's taken him to get to this routine. And he's gonna say, okay, our cat food is Fancy Feast. Well, that's a note, so that belongs here. That's fine here. I'm meeting with James on Friday. Okay, I don't really know where or when we're meeting. So what I need to do is I need to create a new task and I need to say, contact James to discuss time and location of meeting. Boom. Then he's functionally removed this from his note. He's cleaned it out as part of his routine and he's put it where it will actually be actionable for him in his task manager. And then the last thing in here, it says lunch with Rachel tomorrow. Well, that's really easy. That just involves opening up his calendar and scheduling lunch with Rachel tomorrow on like whatever day, you know, tomorrow actually is. He'll just write lunch with Rachel at noon and he'll schedule it. So in this way, your routine is really important for getting things into places they actually belong and where they can actually be used and treated the way they need to be treated. So if you're just capturing things on a sticky note, that does not help you if you're relying on your calendar app on the go to tell you when you need to be where. But if you have a process by which you clean out your various programs and systems, it'll be so much easier for you to feel organized and feel productive. So I think that is all of the tips that I have for Tim. It's going to be to make sure you're scheduling things in the appropriate calendars so that your brain starts to trust them. Build a more robust task management system in the Reminders app because you're already using it as a capture method. And give yourself a regular weekly meeting with yourself to just go in and clean out everything that got cluttered in the past. Because clutter is going to happen when you have capture methods, when you're thinking about a million different things. So give yourself a regular time that you just say, okay, this time I'm going to go through and sort everything where they belong. And then from there, your productivity is actionable, your tasks are actionable, your calendar appointments are actually useful, and your notes app isn't just flooded with stuff that doesn't belong in there and isn't really useful as a reference. So, did you guys like this type of video? If so, I'm happy to do more of them so that it can help you give you guys examples for how to troubleshoot your own productivity systems. If you want to do some work on that on your own for now, go ahead over to my video right here on the screen, which is about decluttering your productivity system, where I talk more about the tips and tricks I mentioned and used in this video. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring, and thank you so much for watching, for being subscribed, for being awesome. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one.